you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show. The Universal Consciousness Show, where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Aage, Nost, and Diana Seraphim.
You are listening to the show for the Thinking Global Citizen. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts, and my co-host is Diana over in Germany. Are you there, Diana?
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
All right. And today we have a guest over in England with us, and get ready to exercise your smiling muscles, because we're going to have some fun here also, and mixed in with a serious spiritual knowledge. But first, for those of you that want to listen to this show again, you can find us on the Universal Consciousness Show universal-consciousness-show.com. We'll be on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter and a few other places wherever you can find us. And help us spread this around, because there's some good knowledge here that really people need to know about. And also keep a pen close by, because it just might be something that you want to write down. And on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. That's going to help us a lot. And also click on that little bell next to the subscribe button, because then you will get yourself a little notice when there's a new show coming up. So without any more ado than that, we're definitely an international show here today, because you got a Norwegian guy here living in the United States. That's me. And a Romanian lady living in Germany. That is my co-host Diana. And our guest is from England. How much more international can you get than that? And also, with our guest, we will delve into the secrets of the Far East practices and their spiritual, philosophical, and energetic effects. There is so much good coming out of the Far East, and it's being kept from us by the dogma of religion and government and education and other things in the West that tends to keep us, kind of like mushrooms. And I'm sorry, that was an inside joke. We will learn about the truth, the hidden away behind the truth. And our guest is with us from England is Paul Sifu Boggie Brighton. And he has studied these secrets for decades. Tai Chi, QiGong, Shin Ki Shen, which is the Chinese form of Reiki, I suppose, and the Tao, meditation, and he has become a teacher and a practitioner and lecturer on these arts. He helped healers and light workers to tap into the unlimited energy, to stay supercharged and never get burned out, because that is something that happened to very many of us over time. If we do not totally enjoy it, we are apt to burn out. I know, I've been that route. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you very much. I've got to actually say it's a bit more international than you actually think, because I'm adopted. I'm actually half Irish, half Russian, though I'm born in the UK. So,
wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Paul, thank you so much for having you here tonight, and just for the people that don't know you yet, what was the turning point in your life that brought you on this path? So, how did it all begin for you?
Okay, so I'll try to keep this very short. It started for me as a child. I was always a little bit different. I always saw things in a different way, a different perspective, a different point of view. The part of that I wouldn't know until much later on. But so I was bullied as a kid, and eventually my parents decided that I should go and do some martial art practice. So I studied a martial art originally called Kitida. It's now called something else. It's called Kicksa now. But from that martial art, they had adjudicators that would come and do the belt practice. They did regular belts. And so I started that around about 11 years old, and near the 12th, I was going for going from green to I was going to brown belt, and these adjudicators that would come from the martial art board in the UK. And one of these actually sort of came along and sort of took a keen eye and spoke to my parents and sort of said he would like to actually train me in something else. And that something else was called QiGong. And QiGong means breath work or energizing exercise. And from, in essence, from there, from those beginnings, I learnt the Taoist way, and Qigong is like one of the techniques within the Taoist repertoire. And the whole point was it sort of took me down a rabbit hole and a big labyrinth of lots of different techniques and lots of different things. And eventually, when I got older, the difference I learnt, in fact, I only actually learnt it about 15 years ago, was that I had a test for dyslexia, and when they actually tested me, I was actually part dyslexic, part dyspraxic, and there was traces of autistic as well. Now, the interesting thing to my teachers, they sort of saw that, but they didn't see it as a disadvantage. They would see it as a skill. And I was later to learn, in actual fact, FT 100 and 500 index businesses actually look for people with dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism, but even things like psychic abilities, empaths, remote viewers. They look for these sort of people because in these industries they use those skills to their advantage. And that's what not everybody necessarily knows, is that in business, what we may dismiss, they actually see as if it helps their business, they'll actually focus on it. So yes, that's sort of where it all began for me.
That makes sense, actually, because a lot of computer programmers and people like that in very technical areas, they have some of those advantages that you just mentioned.
Yeah, very much. I mean, there is. It is interesting that a lot of the quantum physics and the whole fuzzy thinking computers, the fuzzy computers that are, rather than the ones and zeros, are very much on the quantum level. There is a lot of talk that those people originally were, or originally they used to simply use the term outside the box thinkers. Mm. But in our sort of in the medical society, we would have these classifications of dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism. But the interesting thing is, even things like in the West, we sort of say about Qigong and Tai Chi, we say, you have to believe in it for it to work. But businesses have been using it for over 40 years because it reduces things like Qigong and meditation, reduce ailments, reduce help improve focus and absenteeism. That was the word I was trying to think of. Reduce absenteeism and also improve productivity. Yep. And the bottom line of business, they don't care what it is if it works. If it benefits them, they'll use it. And that was the interesting thing I learned.
Yeah, so you started out with martial arts then, and then kind of transitioned more into a spiritual arena, you say?
Well, see, the Western approach and the Eastern approach is different. In the East, martial arts isn't actually about fighting; it's actually about personal development. And most of the arts like Shaolin Kung Fu, QiGong, Tai Chi, they are called what is known as the 3 M's, and the 3 M's is martial, medical, and meditational. So it's sort of like a prism or like a crystal. You turn it one way, and martial arts also means personal fitness. So in peacetime, martial arts is about fitness. Like Shaolin Kung Fu, you see them, they're all super fit, but it also looks really good. You know, the Shaolin monks are performers. And you turn that prism again, and you have the medical. So in peacetime, it's self-healing. In wartime, it's the ability to heal people on the battlefield or to keep them going when they're seriously injured. And then you turn that prism again, and you have meditation. Well, the meditation in peacetime, meditation is the spiritual understanding, it's spirituality, it's focus, but it's also psychic abilities and beyond. But meditation in wartime is actually strategy, and it's the philosophy and understandings and being able to, that Zen focus, that get into that point of oneness to be able to do what you need to do. Yep. So the Tao especially is very much this philosophy of mind, body, spirit, or the 3 M's: martial, medical, meditational. This is why Bruce Lee was very strange when the Americans first met Bruce Lee, and he was a martial artist, but he went to university in America to study philosophy. For them, that was very strange. But in the East, that's a normal philosophy, martial arts, spiritual practices, self-healing. Even food and nutrition is part of healing, and it's all interconnected.
Mm. Yeah, and the Tao then, that is really what it means actually then. The combined effects on all of these things. Is that it? Yeah.
The Tao, the Tao, there's like a lot of words in both English and in America that like the word two, you go to, or one to, or too many. It means more than one thing. So the Tao means the way, the path, or the balance, but it's so much more. So the Tao in the West, in the Western viewpoint, we class Taoism and Buddhism as religions, but the Taoism itself is more of a philosophy from the Latin word philo, or love of knowledge. Yeah. And so the Taoist way of being is that everything is all interconnected, and everybody needs, your goal is to find your own personal Tao, so your own personal way or path. So Aage, you've done many things, and that's I would call you a Taoist because you've done all these different techniques, and you found your own personal way to balance them all. And say in the Native Americans, for me, they would also be Taoists because they lived according to nature. They went from place to place. They knew how to live off the land, and they found their own personal balance. So Taoism's not so much, it's a Chinese thing and it's this. Taoism for me means the way, the path, the balance. So anyone can be a Taoist if they follow their own personal way, path, or Tao.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's, this is in the Western world, we use the word God a lot. It comes into even people that don't believe in it, they still use the term. If by definition you had to get a definition for what you consider to be God, what would you call that?
Well, in Taoism, there was actually a book by a lot of people would see the name as Lao Tzu's, Laotze, but it's actually pronounced Lao Tzu. And Lao Tzu meant old sage or wise sage. And Lao Tzu wrote a book called the Tao Te Ching. Mm-hmm. And in this book, one of the first things it says is that the Tao that can be named or described is not the true Tao. So what it means by that, or what it further on says, is that if you ask a child how to describe a car, it will describe it in a childlike way. Or if you ask him to him or her, ask the child how to describe the universe, they will do it in a childlike way. So how can us, in this perspective, on this tiny little rock hurtling through space in a great big galaxy, how can we describe the universe itself? How can we describe God or source or whatever you call it? So it's a little bit of the undescribable at the same time, of sorts. In Taoism, they would say that we're all collective consciousness, that everything is energy. And in essence, from their teachings and their understandings, is that we are, in essence, everything is God. All is God. It's just we're, from our perspective, we can only see our point of view. And as part of my studies, I actually studied theology and many different religions over about 12 years. And it's interesting when you actually read the heart of all the doctrines, they say very similar that all is, they actually say, most of them say, all is oneness, all is God. We are a spark, a spark of the divine, or that everything is that oneness. So it's this interesting thing is that we perceive things in a certain way. And in psychology and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, they actually would say that in your personal body, you are God, because you have the ability to actually change to heal yourself. You have the ability, we're learning this through great people like Bruce Lipton and epigenetics, that your moods and your feelings actually can change your body and you can heal yourself. So in our personal environment, our own personal universe, which is our body, we are that God, we are that oneness. And the belief is that as you let go of identifications, you become part of that oneness again. Because we label everything, and everything we sort of give labels, because that's part of our viewpoint. That's what we see. We say, this is this and this is that. But as we let go of these labels, and if you look into quantum physics, everything is interconnected. Everything is one. The big thing in science and medical science, the reason why they have blind case studies, because they know the observer affects the experiment. And that's on a very micro level. But then there's been many other experiments done in the States by the FBI, who know that when you bring lots of people together, you can affect outer reality more and more. So I think the point is that we're far more interconnected, and we're far more near to this oneness than we may realize.
Yes, we are.
Yes, I am resonating with everything that you said about the Taoism, because I also I'm very fond of Taoism. I also read Tao Te Ching, and this was the turning point in my life when I understood what God is, because the difference between Taoism and all the other religions is that the Taoism has no rules and no labels, and then you truly feel the connection to God without getting to tons of rules that is very obvious in all the other religions.
Yeah, very much so. I actually did an experiment back in the 90s. I'm an ice skater. I actually love ice skating. And I did the ice rinks normally have lots of stringent rules that you must obey. And I would hire the ice, and or we would have all our friends, and we'd say the only 3 rules are this: you must have fun. You can't do anything that me and my best mate couldn't do, and we were both figure skaters and hockey players. We could do pretty much everything. And you mustn't give it the big un, which is a British term for, you mustn't sort of have a fight or challenge people to a fight. And the ice rinks got really scared because they think there was going to be dead bodies all over the place because there was no rules, and we blow up chairs and toys and everything on the ice. And we put that all on there, and we got people just to skate and do whatever they want. And within a few minutes, everything calmed down, and people just they flowed in a natural way. They found their natural rhythm. Yet the ice rinks were convinced that there would be mayhem, anarchy, because there was no rules. But in the natural law of the universe, when you take rules away, there's nothing for people to break. So, they actually find their own personal flow.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This is very profound.
Yeah.
But as any good Taoist should say then, especially after saying that, hey, what do I know?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about God here. Even in the Bible, it says both in John and in Psalms that you are gods. They don't talk about this, this white guy sitting on a cloud up there with long white hair and long white beard. That's not it.
No, indeed. And there was an interesting thing. I had part of when I did my theology studies, there was a Hebrew friend of mine who said that the Old Testament actually says most people know it as it says that God created man in his own image. He would be absolutely adamant, and he would say that it says God created everything, or everything is in the image of God. And that leads to a question where how can everything in the universe be the image of God unless everything is that godness, that oneness, that everything is collective energy?
Absolutely. Yeah. I see that. Now, I see we have a couple of minutes left for the break here. I think when we talk, by the way, do you know that you have another QiGong practitioner here, and that is Diana?
Oh,
yes.
Awesome. Cool.
Yes. Not in a professional way, so I just have a DVD, but I'm very fascinating about. And I am practicing since few years.
Well, we can definitely talk about that after the break.
Yeah. This is, I think QiGong is a phenomenal exercise program.
Indeed.
Yeah.
30 seconds. Well, I would always say there's a QiGong for everything. If you've got bad back, we got a QiGong for that. If you want to improve your backhand in tennis, we got QiGong for that. If you're struggling to sleep or you're stressed, we got QiGong for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when we get back from the break, let's also talk a little more about the practices and how people can get involved with this and do this. Because we are all doers at different levels, and that's where it's at. So we will be back after the break, and stay with us. This is going to get good.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show. The Universal Consciousness Show. Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this. based on the concept that Plato simply called the Great Year, where evidence points to our world civilization being far older than we've been taught. The Emissary, Book 1 by Tamra Veach and Rennie DeFazio, embraces this concept while blending elements of fantasy, reincarnation, action-adventure, and ancient secrets all together, along with our real-world history, to create an epic tale that will leave you asking the question, is this real? The Emissary, Book 1, now available for 99 cents for a limited time at Amazon.com.
Toxins are everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat and the water we drink. In a world where 80,000 known toxins and heavy metals threaten our very existence, how are you going to protect yourself and your loved ones? Introducing Pure Body Extra Strength, the world's first colloidal zeolite that helps trap and remove toxins as well as heavy metals from your body that are messing with your memory, clarity, sleep, and focus. Don't just take our word for it or the testimonials from our thousands of happy customers. Check out the hundreds of articles and case studies on the National Institute of Health website proving zeolite's powerful ability to remove toxins. For a limited time, listeners to KCOR will receive 10% off their first order. To get started, go to trypurebody.com and enter promo code RADIO10. Again, that's trypurebody.com. Toxic junk is all around us, but now you can take back control of your health and protect yourself by detoxing with Pure Body Extra Strength. You'll be on your way to sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling more energetic. Go to trypurebody.com right now and get started today.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Aage Nost and Diana Seraphine.
Hello, hello. We are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we are talking with Paul Brighton over in England. And before the break, we got to talk about QiGong and healing, and this got interesting. So I'd like to continue this thread a little further. And Diana, we were talking on the break here, and you were wondering about something here also.
Yes. What exactly, how can you define QiGong for the listeners?
Okay, right. So QiGong means breath work or energy exercise. I always explain it sort of like this. I explain this as well. So a lot of people have heard of Tai Chi and wonder, oh, is that the same or different? Well, if you saw QiGong as music, so lots of different musical notes and melodies and the musical form, then Tai Chi would be a style of music. It would be like classical music. It will be lots of notes put together to create a melody. So QiGong as like in music, there are many different versions of qigong inside of it. So if you say you've got a headache, there is a qigong that would help improve the blood circulation and reduce your headache. If you're struggling to sleep at night, there's a qigong that would help do that. If you are a sporting person, let's say you're a tennis person and you want to improve your backhand in tennis or improve your ice skating abilities, there are qigongs that would help that. So in essence, I always say there was a little bit like there was an advert many years ago about there's an app for that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a qigong for that. You have an issue, and my students always say, ask Boggie. There's probably a qigong for it. There's always a qigong for everything, and because it works on many different levels, whether it's the physical level, the emotional level, the spiritual level. It can work on the healing level, or it can work. There's many ways that the exercises can help, and many different techniques that are qigong. That's a short answer.
And you mentioned in the break that qigong could help an autistic child. How can an autistic child practice qigong? Can you get in his inner world and bring him in reality to do qigong?
Yeah. The short answer is yes. I've had very mild to quite extreme autistic kids in the past as students in the last 37 years, and it's about getting into their world. It's about them seeing something that interests them, that intrigues them. And with a lot of autistic kids, it's very much about the detail and the movement and not so much about what it can do, but more about how you do that and the way you do it. So it was very much the Chinese way of teaching is what they call the shadow way, which is you do, I do, and then you copy. And where in the West nowadays people will want you to describe everything you're doing and where the hand is and this, that, and the other. But the original way, the shadow way, is very much I do and you follow. And with quite not all, but quite a few of my autistic students in the past, they liked to copy, they liked to follow, and they would ask particular questions, and then I would answer it in a very set way or a very certain way. And it was very much more about getting them interested, getting them to go, oh yeah, I want to do that, but very much in a copying way. So they start to mimic, they start to follow and flow, and it affects the neural pathways in the brain. We know this through case studies with qigong, and so with the autism, it allows slight connections in the brain that allows them over a period. It's not a golden pill. It doesn't happen in minutes. It's normally over months, maybe even a year or more. But when they start to practice, and the practice affects you in many different ways. It affects your health, it affects your well-being. It can affect the way you think and feel, but it takes time. It's a thing that you need to practice a lot, and it's what we call the waterway, which is a little bit every single day. So if you practice, if you can find 15 minutes, I can find you a qigong, and I can also help you energize yourself and change your way you are now.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah, and I tell you though, let's take this one step further. Qigong also has some very healing properties in it. And Paul, I'm sure you probably have seen this video coming out of China. I think there were 4 or 5 Qigong masters that went to a hospital. They were standing around the bed with someone that had kidney cancer. And they had a TV screen where they had a picture of, actually a live picture of the kidney cancer, and then the on one side of the screen, and then there was a split screen where you could see what's happening and what was originally a picture of it. And they started their chanting. And I basically translated to English what they said: "It is done, it is done, it is done." In a matter of 3 minutes, we could see on the screen that cancer was the size of a small child's fist. And it shrunk to nothing in a matter of 3 minutes.
Yeah. Right. So the word they were saying is wasa. Wasa means already happened or it is done. Greg Braden is one of the guys that has been sharing that video. I always forget the location, but I've actually been to that place. It's a medicineless hospital in China. The site is very similar to a lot of sacred sites around the world. Like if I was to sort of say Stonehenge, you hopefully know of Stonehenge. It has many ley lines. Now in China, they call the ley lines dragon lines. So these, or we could say that they're the meridians of the planet. And there's a couple of crossovers where that hospital is, and that place, that land was used for healing for over about 2,000. They say around about 2,000 years that they've been using it for healing. And originally, what's called the shaman, the Taoist shaman or dragon dog shaman, they would find these areas, these vortexes, and they would especially do their energy healing there. And it's partly when we go. We said before the break, we said about that the observer affects this experiment, and this is basically an extreme version of this. Is that both in the West and the East, they are fully aware that the more people you have focusing on one thing, the more you can affect that situation. You can affect the environment. So the environment was the person. The person wanted and believed they could be better and get healed. The practitioners were actual QiGong Sifus, and so they know how to channel energy. But it's channeling the energy there to create that intent. So that intent is obviously that it's already done. It's already healed. This is one of the biggest things, even within manifestation, but in reality, is when you actually see something has already happened, you're actually setting the right intention. In NLP, neuro-linguistic program, when you say, "Oh, I wish it was better," or "I wish I could heal," you'll always be wishing, or you'll always be wanting. Yeah. When you actually set the intention, and again, Western scientists know this. They've done psychology on this with sports practitioners, where they've had sports practitioners imagine themselves in, say a runner. They imagine got that runner, put the old test scanning equipment all over them, and they got that runner to imagine themselves running. The muscles start to react. Their body heats up, and their heart actually gets faster because the evidence shows is that what you believe and what is real, the brain can't tell the difference. So when you're saying to this person that you can heal yourself and you have the ability to heal yourself, and you give and focus the energy, the intent into that situation, the body naturally starts to repair itself. It can actually eradicate that illness. And illness, in the Eastern point of view, is purely an imbalance. It's purely a blockage. So all they're simply doing is increasing the blood flow, the qi flow in that person's body, and it removes the blockage. They're actually, I think it was Russian scientists that actually found the meridians, the energy channels within the body, the meridians, around about 15-20 years ago. Yeah. And they called it the biometrics channels. Mm-hmm. And they had machines that could detect them, and they're not very big, they're very, very thin lines, But when they were sort of reporting this information, there was a bunch of Chinese doctors that brought the acupuncture or the acupuncture maps and showed, oh, you mean this? And they were showing that, they're exactly the same place that the technology was scanning them. So it meant that, this whole point of that the ancient knowledge knew of this existence, knew how to do these things. It's just that the way, modern science is now catching up with the technology. So quite simply, that it's all, in essence, the ancient Taoists were a bit like they were a bit like ancient quantum physicists. In actual fact, one of their sayings is that magic is purely science, not yet understood.
Yeah. I know a magician that said that too. There's no such thing as magic. There is only science of the future.
Yeah, very, very much. And this is, it's quite interesting. With me, when you get people, the term haters, when you get people say, oh, I don't believe in this is rubbish, I go, okay, here's some science. Okay, here's some science. Here's some more science. And and there's lots of case studies, and the whole point is that this stuff can actually be proven. And again, there's a great the great Bruce Lipton and epigenetics. He's actually showing that the body, about the body and belief. And if you can put your mind in a certain mindset, you can affect your internal reality. Well, as I said earlier, the FBI actually were doing experiments back in the late 90s and noughties with people where they did meditational experiments, and they had one of the last ones was 2,000 people in the state of Washington, focusing in different hotels, focusing on peace and love, and the crime rate, for no other reason, the crime rate dropped by 25%. So these, and they're not necessarily explained, but these phenomena exist. And so yes, the science, the sort of science behind it is that those doctors, those practitioners, know how to generate energy and know how to focus it in the body, and know how to help people. Even Edgar Casey in the States, he was a QiGong practitioner, QiGong healer, because he could diagnose people and then start their healing journey. This is all possible when you believe, it's only possible if everything is interconnected. If everything's interconnected and we're all one, and one person accepts this ability and then another one encourages it, you can allow this to happen, help this happen.
Yeah, and actually to supplement this show, for the people out there that want to learn more about it, just go on YouTube and put in the keyword epigenetics, and listen to some of those shows, because they totally confirm what you're talking about right now. And this is all science.
Yeah, this is what it confuses, I think, a lot of people, is the fact I do so many different things, but science now, modern science, or at least quantum science, and not necessarily the mainstream public science, but the true science is all about, they'll always follow the truth. They'll go for the truth, and they'll follow it down that rabbit hole. Certain mainstream scientists want to stick with a certain regime or a certain way, because that's what that's their life, and that's what they're used to. But it's the whole point. When you follow the truth, you'll find the truth. It might not be the truth you want, but you'll find the truth. And the whole idea of this, I've always loved science because of the fact that, or at least quantum physics, because of the fact that it was always confirming all the stuff that my teachers were telling me. It was being confirmed by them. And there's so much more. There's a scientist called Nissan Harriman that's showing that the evidence is showing that every star, not just our sun, but every star in the universe, as far as he can tell, if all stars are on the same format, is that all stars already have a black hole in the center of them, and there's certain evidence that shows this. That he's saying that our star, so our sun, and other stars, as far as they can tell, actually have a black hole already in the center. And rather than the sun collapses to create one, the black hole's already there. And for me, this is really interesting because the Taoists were talking about this 3,000 years ago. They would say that the sun was actually a stargate, and there was a hole of darkness, the yin, a doorway to other realities, or the Tao, inside the center of the star. And they were talking about that at, like I say, 2,000-3,000 years ago. And what Nissan Harriman is also saying is that the evidence for him is showing that where we talk about the atom being 99.999% empty space, that empty space is actually a black hole, that inside every atom is actually a tiny black hole. And again, the Taoists were saying exactly the same thing. Which this is, my point is that science and spirituality is actually the same thing. It's just a different viewpoint, just like magic. Magic is just science not yet understood.
Yeah, and in fact, we have a picture. In fact, on my website somewhere, there's a picture of a large object, probably some 800 to 1,000 mile long object coming out of the sun. And once it cleared the corona, it changed direction. Now, that was a ship. It's obvious to me that was a ship of some type, but it came out of the sun. And like you say, maybe out of the black hole in the middle of the sun.
Well, like I say, when I went to China, I mean, another thing that's only just sort of being known now, there are over, I think there's even more now found, but I was aware there was over about 130 pyramids in China in different places, everything from Egyptian-style pyramid to Mayan. And a lot of these pyramids, the ancient knowledge in China was that there were 3 races that came from our sun, the Stargate, and they brought information. One was the tall whites, so white Caucasian with long blonde hair. One was the tall blue, a tall blue being, and one was what's called the Longar or dragon dog, which is, if you see the Forbidden Temple, some people think it looks like a lion, but when you actually look at the face, that's not a lion's face, that's a dragon face on a dog's body. Yeah. And they're called the dragon dogs, and underneath their paw is a big ball, and that ball is a 3D representation of the flower of life, which is sacred geometry. And the dragon dogs were the keepers of sacred geometry and the different knowledge of energies, the meridians, the chakras, the auras, the Merkaba, and so much more. And so the dragon dog shaman were these people that were part of the Taoist school, or one of the Taoist schools, and their information was said to have come from these beings who were said to have come from the stars. And of course, they're not the only ones. Is like in America, the ancient American Indians, they say a similar sort of thing.
Yeah,
and,
they did.
And when you look at the ancient cultures, they do look at this. They do look at this thing of there is these hints that information came from somewhere else.
Yeah, it comes from distant past, and I know you are also kind of carrying the title Dragon Dog Shaman. What is that?
Well, the dragon dog, like I say, the dragon dog shaman are a sort of ancient scientists. It's about the energy healing. So it's one of the healing systems they use, apart from QiGong, is Shun Qi Shen, which means flowing energy spirit, and it's a older version of Reiki. But their philosophy, a little bit like in Star Wars, is that to build up that energy, you need to practice. And by practicing Qigong, you build up your spiritual energy, your healing energy, and everything else. So the Dragon Dog Shamans, and in actual fact, those scientists in the white jackets, they probably were just Dragon Dog Shamans or Taoist Shamans of some sort, because most of the healing people do that sort of healing.
Yeah, we I see we got 4 minutes left of the show, so why don't you tell them where they can tell the listeners where they can find you, where they could contact with you, and if you have any publications or anything that you want to let them know about, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Good job. My feet are very firmly on it then. So you can find me on Facebook and I actually have a page, The Way of Sifu, Sifu, Boggie. I also actually have my own show, which the mighty Aage has been on, which is called The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, which you can find on Facebook. On YouTube, I have a small YouTube page, which is Sifu, Sifu, Boggie. And finally, on I have my own website, which is www.sifu.com. BOGGIE.com. So there's a few ways that you can find me. And, you know, if you want to have a chat or you want to learn some QiGong, I do online QiGong as well as online Dragon Dog Reiki and Shun Chi Shen, so the Chinese Reiki. I do them on online packages, both on Teachable as well as an ongoing course as well.
So people, where can they get involved in the online Qigong and Reiki?
So quite simply, if you go to my website, www.sifuboggie.com, all the information is on there, and that's the easiest way to find me. So yeah, we do interactive lessons. So the whole point, because wonderful tech we have nowadays, you can actually talk to people and interact with them, and they can record their practice, and then I can critique it. So the whole idea is, it's not like the videos anymore, is that because it's interactive, I can actually teach them in the right way, in the correct way, and help them grow and expand and flow in Qigong or the Reiki.
Sounds excellent. Well, I really enjoyed this because, to tell you the truth, Paul, there's not that many people like you.
Yeah, guilty. Yeah,
you're guilty.
Yeah. Well, I can go off on different tangents, as we found out. So, I know a little bit of information.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Okay. Well, we're getting down to the end here, and I will be following you and seeing what you're doing, and I would like to have you back sometime and talking a little more in detail and how people can get involved with this. So now we are down to the end of the show, and I thank you very much for being with us. And then we will be back next week with another show, the Universal Consciousness Show. So we will talk to you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense for very many people that they are one with the universe. It will be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming, a new earthly paradigm, a shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the